Since 1941, the old St. Patrick's Grade School has stood at the corner of 34th and Pecos. The school closed 30 years ago. It's been office space ever since. But this fall it will reopen, once again with children.
Well, I moved into the neighborhood in 1985 on 33rd and Pecos, so it was the house directly west of the church, and it belonged to the church. And Sister Alicia Ramirez and I moved in and put the house back together with Elmer's glue and cardboard. And it was the hood then. It was a pretty tough neighborhood. Father Marshall Gorley was the pastor there, who was extremely involved in social justice issues. And the big issues in the parish were immigration, youth violence, and the dropout rate. And so one of the things that we talked about a lot was education and schools, and how it would be great to have a school in that neighborhood. These kids weren't going anywhere. The kids at North, the graduation rates were so poor. And Marshall used to become very frustrated with the number of funerals that he was having of young men who were killed violently, and it all seemed like such a waste. But it was just a feel in the neighborhood. It was a tough place to live in those days. You just wondered what was going to happen to these kids growing up. And that's when Tom Pragg, the Jesuit, and two other Jesuits moved into the neighborhood, and their main mission was to talk to the people who lived in the neighborhood to see what their greatest needs were. And obviously, education came up in that conversation. So Marshall Gorley and Tom Pragg started this steering committee. So they were talking about starting with 6th grade. Pat Salazar, who was the principal at Bryant Webster, joined the group, and she said, that's too late, you got to start with 4th grade. So Alicia and I, and then Joy Garrity, who was also on the staff at St. Mary's, joined the group. And we said, that's too late, you got to start with kindergarten. We had been involved with some of the nativity schools, and so much time and energy went into getting kids to be learners in 6th grade when they had no idea of what it meant to be a learner. And you spent so much time with discipline. So we said kindergarten. We all agreed on it was going to be a dual language school. It was going to be a longer school day and a longer school year. And we were going to pay our teachers a living wage. And that because of those things, we did not want to be a diocesan school, because we wanted to have our own calendar and our own pay scale. I think the one thing that all of us saw was that children who came from a culture that was greatly loved and respected by their parents and grandparents, that they were beginning to lose. The language was being lost. Children wouldn't speak Spanish. So I think it's that respect and holding on to the culture, also the Catholic part of it, where the Catholic can still be a strong part of these children's lives. And that was one of the most important things, and to make the English and the Spanish equal, so that English speakers had just as much pressure put on them to learn the Spanish as the Spanish speakers had to learn the English. It's exactly what our dream was, and the dream for children in that area. We always knew that finances were going to be a struggle. Finances, how we ever started that first year, I'll never know. We had something like $120,000, and that was it. And we opened. And every year it was a struggle. And then when we got to our Save Our School campaign, the SOS, we really struggled with whether we would continue. The one thing I feel today is that we're on much stronger financial grounds. I don't feel we're living from year to year like we did in those early years. I think anybody who comes to that school sees that. I think those Escuela 101s do that, where people leave those and say, whoa, did you hear that child? You know, and I think that there is great awe that education can happen on a shoestring in that neighborhood. And we know the public schools, something's not working somewhere. And yet, if Escuela could be a model of how you make something work, be a positive influence for children and make them succeed. And, you know, our graduates are now in college. And so it's a success. And it's really how to be a learner, more than facts. It's what it means to be a learner. And at Escuela, what it means to respect your culture, to love your language, and to hold that with you for your whole life. And whether you're Hispanic or Anglo, you still have that love and respect for both cultures. That's my hope, is that we would, you know, there'll be a 20th celebration and a 25th celebration, and then we'll go on from there. There are some really hard times that we've come through, but people are willing to make the sacrifices to have something great continue, and I truly believe that Escuela will continue. It may not continue in the same place. It may look different. It may hopefully go through 8th grade, which was our original plan. That's the only part of our original plan that didn't pan out in the end. But I think it'll be there. It's an important place for kids. And I think as there are more and more graduates of Escuela in the world will come to know who we are.